posture's got to be straight like that. However, the human body is not a stick, it is a living, breathing being with relationships and responsibilities and recreational desires. So, what we're going to talk about is posture. But before we get to posture, there's we're going to first talk about breathing. And why breathing? Because posture is the chronic state of the human condition. So that means if there's chronic, then that means there's something that happens before that, which is more an acute type of phase. And the acute type of phase is the breathing. So if we get really stressed out, we tend to do a lot of chest breathing, and when we do a lot of chest breathing, uh, and we do it for a really really long time, eventually our body starts to look like this, right? So then we got this change in posture. Or if we get really really depressed and we breathe really shallow, and we do it for a really really long time, over time, that acute breathing state of slow and shallow breathing will create a chronic condition of slump posture. So those are just two examples. So now moving forward into posture, there are three things that generally oversimplified that affects people's body position, which is what we call posture. And this was founded and developed by our mentor, Greg Johnson and Vicki Johnson. And I'm just going to highlight three of them. The first one is impaired mechanical capacity. Second one is mindset. And third one is emulation. So I'm going to go over the first one. So what is the impaired mechanical capacity? Basically, what that means is that something is stuck in your body that when you actually come in for treatment, that uh, the no matter whether you're getting the best exercise, the best stretches, that because there's actually something stuck in your body, that your body is unable to get to that efficient body position, meaning posture. So, for example, what's really common when we talk about posture is we often think about the spine. So there's a spinal segment that's really stuck and is not addressed. But however, you're still getting the best exercise, the best stretches, the best patient education to help manage your body position, which we also call posture. Then your body will never get there. Or maybe an organ in your body is stuck. Maybe your stomach proper is holding your left rib cage down, and so you can't elongate your trunk. Or maybe your pelvic floor is stuck, and so that's why you're stuck at anterior pelvic tilt. So even though you're doing all these great exercise and stretches for this upper quarter, because the mechanical capacity of the pelvic and pelvic floor region is not fully addressed, your upper quarter is unable to achieve that vertical and furthermore into an elongated position to have what we see as a good posture. So that is impaired mechanical capacity. The second thing that affect posture, the second and third factors that affect posture are not related to uh, getting mechanical work to the human body. And these two things are so crucial to helping our patients who have postural problems. And again, this was developed and founded by a mentor, Greg and Vicki Johnson. So the second and third items that affect our posture are what my mentor calls functional holding patterns, FHPs. And we got a definition here. A functional holding pattern is a state that the body is in for prolonged periods of time that is not in a place of rest and efficiency. So, for example, going to item number two of things that affect posture, that's a functional holding pattern, is mindset. So, for example, if we go to that uh, position or that scenario where in that acute phase of breathing, like I'm really stressed out, like I got a big test or I got this big event coming up, and I really want to do well. So then I'll breathe. I'll have a lot of inhale and less exhale. A lot of inhale and less exhale. And because we hold a lot of emotions at our chest, the muscles in front of our rib cage will get really, really tight, and that's going to lift up my rib cage. In addition to, I'm going to have this diaphragm that does a lot of inhale and not of exhale. And so over time, because of uh, my mental status, my mindset of this high state of arousal, of maybe a stress, of being in a stressful environment and or stressful condition, whether real or perceived, over time, I'm going to have a posture like this. And after I pass my test or after I do really well for that stressful event, my breathing normalizes. However, my body stays like this. Okay, so this will be an example of my, due to prolonged holding pattern of a mindset of stress anxiety, I get this body position that's look like this. Of course, the opposite is also true. So let's say my dog died. I don't have a dog, but let's say a dog died, or something really bad happened, and I'm really sad and so depressed about it, right? So then my breathing in the acute state will be very low and very shallow. And I do that for a long enough time, and I'm going to get this change in my body position, which we also call posture. And so, as a result of the change in my posture, we can say that my body was in a functional holding pattern of a very low state of arousal, which we can call depression. And as a result, because my functional holding pattern in a prolonged period of time that is not in a place of rest and efficiency of shallow breathing, I go into this depressed state. And so my body, even though I get this great mechanical work, because my mindset is still perhaps on that depressed state, that affects the prognosis for my body to get to that healthy and efficient vertical state for my posture. So those are two examples, anxiety and depression, that is not related to something being stuck, that can affect anyone. In this case, using me as example of me having poor posture of either too extended or too rounded, and that's due to mindset. The third thing that affects posture that's related to a functional holding pattern is emulation, and we see this all the time in our practice. So, for example, let's say someone comes in and they got neck and shoulder pain, and they come in like this, okay? And and we give them great mechanical treatment, we gave them great patient education on functional holding patterns of mindset. They come in the next visit and they walk in the door and they say, "I still have my neck and shoulder pain. I don't think I'm getting better," right? So we continue the great mechanical treatment and the patient education. However, during the treatment sessions, this person is always talking about how much this person really admired her mother or the grandmother the entire time, how she was amazing and how she was able to do this. And this patient says, one day, I'm going to be just like her because I really looked up to her a lot. And and then she comes off the table, and let's say I say, "Hey, just really quickly, can you show me how your mom did the activities that you wanted to improve on? Let's say, drive the car, carry the groceries, do errands, do chores, etc. At work, sit at the desk." And then she would sit like this. And then, okay, can you show me how your mom looked like when she's not doing that activity? Then she would walk around like this. And then I would ask her, oh, is there a similarity that you notice between your body position now and maybe what your mother was doing? And then there will be aha moment, right? So in any case, that example had a happy ending. And so in any case, that example is to illustrate how emulation can affect body posture despite someone getting great mechanical treatment. So these are so in summary, in conclusion, when we have patients coming in for posture, there's so much more to uh, that people need in order to improve their posture. Um, there's got to be how are they breathing? That's the acute state, and is it truly only a mechanical problem, or does it have to do something to do with the mindset that they have? Maybe a self image of themselves or self image of themselves in certain roles, or is it due to an emulation that they have with certain activities, or maybe all the time, and so that emulation is affecting their posture? So let me know what you think. If you got any questions, just leave a comment below.